Okay, so today I'm sharing my slides so you can do well to look at your screen if you're not. Today we'll be kickstarting a new series, and the name of the series is the Democracy and the State. Democracy and the State, and as you can see from the screen, we have 4 topics under this particular topic. The first topic is understanding democracy and what makes democracy work, and that will be anchored by Mr. Shemun Justin Onarinde. The second one on the list is democracy and elections, which will be featuring evaluating Nigeria's electoral law, administration, and process for political transformation. That will be taken by Mr. Mohoret Bigon. And then the third one is forming and strengthening political parties in Nigeria to global best practices. Mr. Sunday Alao will be taking that for us. And then finally, we'll be looking at a deep dive into the Nigerian Constitution, which will be taken by Barrister Leah Luz. And for today, we'll be taking the first two, understanding democracy and what makes democracy work, by Mr. Shiu, and then Mr. Mohoret will be taking us democracy and elections. So I would like to quickly confirm, is Mr. Mohoret online, because we'll be taking his session first before we quickly switch to that of Mr. Shiun Justin. So please, sir, I would like to confirm if you are set and ready for the session.
Okay, good morning, Nohadia. Mr. Mohoret is one I just finished calling me. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, he's trying to connect his device to join the meeting. Meanwhile, can we give him like 3 minutes to see?
All right, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. If he's unable to connect in 3 minutes, I'll just start with my session.
All right, so that's fine.
Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I crave our indulgence that we give our speaker a few minutes to quickly join in, so that we can start quickly. We understand network can be messy sometimes, so let's see how it goes. Thank you.
Another hits jam from WebLoaded.com.
Okay, Noadia, I think it's past 3 minutes and it's not up. So I can just start my session before maybe by that time must have resolved his internet issues.
All right, sir. We will do that. You take your session, and then when take off the session. But quickly, we'll take an icebreaker before you start. His eyes, and then the rest of us, I'm going to he can look at the charts, the description of the image, and he can guess what the image is. Are we on page? Did we get that? Hello?
Okay, they said no, they didn't get.
I'll take that again. Mr. Sheung is going to be closing his eyes. I will put up an image, and what the participants are supposed to do is to describe the image in words. Do not say the name of the person I will put in the image of. Just describe who the person is. You can use a popular quote known by the person, or something that the person, a clue linking to the person. And then Mr. Sheung will open his eyes, look at the chat box, and then tell us who he thinks the person is. Are we game? All right, I'm seeing a yes. Okay, Mr. Sheung, can you close your eyes? I will be sharing my screen now. Okay. Okay, so this is the image of the person. Everyone, can you just look at the person and then describe the person? Just clues that can give Mr. Sheung to guess who the person is. Just describe the person in the chat box, and then Mr. Sheung will tell us who this particular personality is. I'll be taking the image off in 3, 2, 1.
When I open my eyes after the image has been taken off.
No. I'm yet to take it off.
Okay.
All right, I've done that. You can take
Okay.
a look at the comments and then tell us who this person is.
Okay. How many options do I have?
All right, I'll give you 3 because I'm a good
Okay.
Who is that?
Somebody has just.
Who is that?
Okay, so
all right, someone just be
you
up our
actually
cover.
show the picture of Maitama Sule. Okay,
somebody has blown our cover.
Mr. Moret is online now, in case he's ready. Okay, I like that. So somebody just help me. Now, come on, you should have allowed me to guess well. And I suggested when I saw orator and I saw credible leader of both 60s. The next question I wanted to ask whether is whether the person is still alive or not. If the person is dead, then I will now start asking, is it Mandela? Is it Tafa Balewa? Is it Maitama Sule?
So I don't know, Mr. Mohoret, are you ready to take your session? We had an arrangement earlier to switch you to Mr. Shem, but if you're ready, you can just come up quickly.
Yes, Mr. Mohoret, you can unmute yourself.
All right. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hello, can you hear me?
Sir, we can hear you. We can hear you loud and clear. Are you ready for your session?
All right. Yes, I'm ready.
Okay.
So good afternoon, everyone.
Hang on.
Okay.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes.
Can you hang on a little? Let me just give the participants a brief rundown of your profile so that it can prepare the ground for your comment, please, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right, Mr. Mohoret Emmanuel Bigon is an enthusiastic seminar facilitator and conference speaker who is passionate about helping electorates understand and participate more effectively in the electoral process. With about a decade's experience in election management, both on the field and in the office, he has served as a personal assistant to the Honorable Resident Electoral Commissioner, Gombe State, Gombe State and Benue State, and coordinated the Secretariat of the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security during the 2019 general elections. Currently, he's the unit head of the Public Affairs and Protocol, INEC Gombe State, a position he has occupied since 2017. He was the producer of INEC Half Hour and a Voter Enlightenment Program aired in both Hausa and English language on Progress Radio and Gombe Radio between 2017 and 2019. He has also been a guest on so many live radio programs on Amana FM, Progress Radio, and Gombe Radio, where he answered listener questions. So we have all right, are you there?
Yes, I'm still here.
All right, so you can take over.
All right. Thank you so much. First of all, I want to appreciate Lead Thoughts for this opportunity. You know, whenever Lead Thoughts come calling, it's always an opportunity for one to refresh and then to research and it has always been a great privilege, to be part of what you're doing. I will never take this for granted, actually. So thank you so much for yet another opportunity to be part of the Youth Civic Engagement Program. For the participants, I would like to congratulate you for being part of the course for this year. You've had several sessions, and I will encourage you to take it seriously because the impact of what you're learning now, I'm telling you, in years to come, you will reap the benefits. You will reap the benefits in years to come. So that's it. So we'll be looking at democracy and elections, evaluating Nigeria's electoral laws, administration, and processes. So can I share my screen? Let me share my screen. Okay, good. Okay. Hello, Ishamu? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, I'm with you.
Okay. I don't know. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
You can see my screen?
Yes.
All right. Good. Good. So as I said, we'll be talking about democracy and elections, evaluating Nigeria's electoral laws, administration, and processes for political transformation. I was very happy actually when the president passed the Electoral Act 2022, into law. When he signed the Electoral Act 2022, which became law actually from the 25th of February. So I was very excited because this is yet another story of electoral reforms, which in very great ways will shape electoral administration and then processes in this country. So I've tried to just pen down just two objectives. The objective of this session, number one, I said to review how electoral laws shape election administration and processes in Nigeria, and then to challenge participants, to challenge you to be a part of regular and progressive electoral reforms as a way forward to the conduct of credible elections in Nigeria. So the conduct of free and fair elections are actually the foundation of every democracy and the primary mechanism for exercising the principle of sovereignty of the people. I'm sure so many of the participants, I don't want to assume, that all the participants have participated in elections before, but I want to believe a sizable number must have participated in the conduct of elections. And in every democratic setting, actually, one of the tools that you use in a democracy in entrenching leadership actually is elections. So through elections, the people participate in choosing their leaders, and they confer legitimacy and authority on those who govern. I'm simply saying that a government cannot exist in a democracy unless the people say so. So unless the people say so through their votes, in an election, there can never be a government in a democracy. And so this is what we'll be looking at within the next 1 hour, that we'll have. Credible election is very vital, actually. It's a vital tool for promoting good governance in a constitutional democracy. And therefore, if credible elections are this important, if credible election is key to good governance in a democracy, then it means that elections must be conducted within certain boundaries. Elections must be conducted within certain standards. Elections must be conducted within the parameters of certain laws that will guide the process. So, yes, so I try to take us down memory lane a bit, for us to be able to appreciate, what we are talking about. Evaluating Nigeria's electoral laws, administration and processes. So I try to take us a bit down memory lane. Let's look at where we are coming from. Where is Nigeria coming from? And fortunately for me, this year, 2022, marks 100 years since the conduct of the very first election in Nigeria. In 1922, in particular, the very first election was conducted in Nigeria, and today we are 100 years. And I'm sure you say 100 years, yes, how have we fared, in the course of the past 100 years? There has been so many ups and downs, actually. There has been improvements, in some cycles, and then in other cycles, the conduct of elections was reversed, actually. Instead of progressing, it was reversed. So there were times in the history of this country where instead of the elections improving, we had instances to see that, it appears that Nigeria was retrogressing. So 100 years of the conduct of elections, how have we fared? Maybe I'll leave you to judge that, and let's know your perspective. And so before actually INEC came into being, the body that is given the powers to conduct elections in Nigeria, very well, is the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. It was established in 1998. And before INEC, we've had 5 election management bodies that conducted different elections at different times. And these include, we have the Electoral Commission of Nigeria, ECN, that conducted the 1959 elections. It was established actually in 1958, but it was established by the colonialists. That is to say, the laws that govern that those particular elections were promulgated by the colonialists. I want you to take note of that.
Yes, Mr. Moet's network.
Then we had the 1560, and they conducted elections. It was under the leadership of Hello?
Yes, sir, you went off for a...
Wow. I didn't know actually. So maybe let me go back a bit so that
you were just off for about 30 seconds.
Just about 30 seconds. Okay. So yes, I was talking about the election management bodies.
Your screen is also off.
My screen is off.
If you can turn off your video, probably it will help the quality of your network.
Beautiful. So I've turned off my video. Let me share screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It's like it's taking me back to the first. Okay, let me. You can see my screen, right?
Yes, we can.
Okay, okay. So we're talking about brief history of elections in Nigeria. So, hello? Okay. So,
Yes, we can hear you.
all right, all right. I was talking about, the different election management bodies that we've had in the history of this country. You said the Electoral Commission of Nigeria was promulgated by the colonialists, and they used colonial laws to conduct elections, in 1959. Then the 1964-1965 elections were also conducted by the Federal Electoral Commission of Nigeria. But after the coup d'etat of 1966 and then another one in 1976, President Olusegun Obasanjo, established the Federal Electoral Commission known as FEDECO, and they conducted the 1978 and 1983 general elections. I want you to note that this election was the election management body, as it were, was established by the military regime. So the laws that were used, in the conduct of the 1979 elections were actually military decrees. Just take note of that. Then we had the National Electoral Commission that was established in 1987. They conducted local government elections in 1991, conducted governorship elections in 1992, and also senatorial elections, and as well as the June 12, 1993 election. Elections. Yes. So the National Electoral Commission elections, but still take on military decrees. Then in 19, hello.
You were kicked off for a short time.
Network, actually, network. So let me continue with sharing the screen. Yes. Okay. I guess I'm back, right? Hello.
Yes, sir, you're back.
All right. All right. So the National Electoral Commission of Nigeria, which conducted, as I said, they conducted elections in 1998, senatorial House of Representative elections. But those people actually didn't assume office, because of the death of General Sani Abacha. And I said all these election management bodies were established by military decrees. They were supervised by the then military administrators. So take note of that very well. And no matter how well the military, how well their intentions you Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir. We're back now. We lost you for a moment.
Okay. Honestly, the network, I don't know what's happening. Very sorry about that.
All right, sir. You can continue. Your slide is also back.
All right. So the electoral legal framework is comprises actually of constitutional provisions, legislations, rules, regulations, procedures that govern the electoral system design. The formation of electoral institutes established actually by law, and they defines the activity and election. So here in Nigeria, section of the 1999 Constitution, where Electoral Act as passed by rules and regulations and guidelines of the constitute what we call the electoral legal framework. We have international laws also that also help shape the electoral legal framework. But primarily in Nigeria, we're talking of the 1999 Constitution, the Electoral Act, the rules and guidelines issued, by the election management body, in this case, INEC. So the legal framework actually, it defines the modus operandi for election administration. It defines the procedures for election. It defines the processes. It defines the electoral system as well, as I said. So we'll be looking at electoral reforms in Nigeria, from 1999 to date. Actually, we've had different stints of democracy. I didn't want to look at that. I felt let's just take some time. Let's review, the experience from 1999. And you will recall that in 1999, Nigeria returned, to democracy. And we saw the conduct of general elections in that particular year. Governors were elected, members of the National Assembly, and as well as the president. However, that election was conducted based on military decrees. It was conducted based on, the framework of the transitional decrees issued by the military regime. And so the first effort, in the Fourth Republic towards reforming the electoral law to make it more inclusive, to allow for credible conduct of elections, the first effort was in 2001, when the National Assembly drafted, and passed into law the 2001 Electoral Act. But in drafting and passing the 2001 Electoral Act into law, the National Assembly did not consult stakeholders. So stakeholders were not involved, in the drafting of the 2001 Electoral Act. The Independent National Electoral Commission was not a part of it. And so as soon as that law was, the act was signed into law, it became a subject of political and legal controversies, and the then RBS State Attorney General, went to court, to contest a particular provision, that had bearing on the conduct of local government elections, which they felt was within the powers of the state independent electoral commissions. And the court ruled in their favor. And so that led, to the repeal of the Electoral Act 2001. But we note that it was an effort, towards electoral reforms, towards conducting, credible elections in Nigeria. There was another attempt in 2002 after the repeal of, the 2001 Electoral Act. The National Assembly this time around, had the buy-in of stakeholders. Stakeholders were contacted. There were public hearings, on the different amendments, to the 2001 Electoral Act. And so in 2002, the National Assembly passed a new law, the 2002 Electoral Act, into law, and it was signed by the then president. However, INEC contested the powers of the National Assembly to determine the order of elections, and then political parties also went to court, to challenge the criteria for registration of political parties, which according to them violated their rights and freedoms as enshrined in the 1999 Constitution. The court, of course, ruled in favor of INEC and the political parties as well. And this led to the amendment of the 2002 Electoral Act in 2003. That was what was used actually to conduct the 2003 elections. Now, after the 2003 elections, INEC undertook a post-election review actually, which culminated in the drafting and submission of the 2005 Electoral Reform Bill, to address the gaps and challenges encountered, during the 2003 elections. For those of you who were around, you remember that there were reported cases of ballot box snatching. There were reported cases of falsification of results, and so on and so forth. So there were gaps that needed to be closed up by relevant laws. And then INEC, as an institution itself, needed to be strengthened. And so after review by stakeholders, both nationally and internationally, the Electoral Reform Bill of 2005 was submitted to the National Assembly, and it was passed in 2006. That gave birth actually to the Electoral Act 2006. And what were some of the provisions contained in this act? The act provided for stiffer penalties for electoral offenses. It provided for continuous voter registration. It provided time limits, to make changes, to political party nominees in a particular election. During the 2003 elections, based on the laws then, before, after an election, after the conduct of an election, before swearing in, a party can change its candidate. So the 2006 Electoral Act, prohibited that. It provided time limits actually to make changes to party nominees. That brought some level of sanity actually to the electoral process. And then we saw the establishment of an INEC fund to contribute to the Commission's fiscal independence, to make INEC more independent, as it were. And then there was a provision actually in that bill which was not passed. And that provision was a provision to restrain serving government officials from voting as delegates in party primaries. That was rejected, among other provisions which were rejected by the National Assembly. I want you to take note of this, because this is the controversial issue of the moment. But take note that it started in 2005. There was a proposal that serving government officials, political appointees, should not serve as delegates, during primaries. But that was rejected by the National Assembly. So the 2006 Electoral Act was used actually for the conduct of the 2007, general elections. However, we all know what happened in 2007. In fact, that election was adjudged to be the worst in the history of Nigeria. Both local and international observers submitted that those elections that were conducted in 2007, fell short of national, regional, and international standards for democratic elections. And we are all aware also that President Musa Yar'Adua in 2007 agreed actually that the process that brought him into office was flawed. And so he inaugurated the Electoral Reform Committee, to make proposals for electoral reforms, And it was part of their submissions actually led to the amendment of the 1999 Constitution in 2009 and 2010. And it also led to the subsequent repeal and enactment of the Electoral Act, 2010. The Electoral Act 2010 was an improvement, a great improvement on the Electoral Act, 2006. The Act had provisions to speed up appeal processes by providing time limits for determination of appeals. Before before the Electoral Act 2010 came into force, cases in election tribunals, can take like 2 years, and before you could appeal. So one case can keep dragging for 3 years, 3.5 years, before it is being decided, by the courts. But the Electoral Act 2010, set in place time limits for the determination of cases in the tribunals and determination of appeals. So that further brought some level of sanity. And then INEC was empowered to deregister dormant political parties. INEC was also mandated to monitor political party primaries. And then for the first time, we saw that the outcome of party primaries can be appealed before the courts. Yes. So if anyone that was not satisfied with the outcome of party primaries was given the leeway actually to approach the courts of law. And then there was provision for electronic voters register. And it was this Electoral Act actually that INEC used to conduct voters registration in January 2011 using direct data capture machines, to capture voters, And since then, we've been using that register, actually, the electronic voter register, that was opened in 2011. What INEC has been doing is to clean the register, to update the register. So INEC, after the 2011 general elections, cleaned the register. The Act also allowed for the usage of permanent voters card, which was distributed by INEC since 2014 and 2017, 2018, and today we have the permanent voters card. The same law was used to conduct the 2015 general elections. So these were some of the benefits, but these things, you are aware that, you agree with me that the conduct of elections from 2011, started improving. It started improving. 2011 was far better than 2007 because there were laws set in place, and then there was an administration that was willing actually to implement, the laws. And so in 2015, there were amendments, but those amendments were coming as a result of the post-election review of 2011. There were a few amendments actually, which the public might not be aware. Those amendments were passed, and they helped also in the conduct of the 2015 general elections. One of the watershed, one of the distinctive aspects of the 2015 general elections actually was the use of the smart card reader, which you will agree with me brought some level of sanity. It improved the confidence of the electorate in the electoral process. However, you're all aware that, after the elections, some people went to court, election results were challenged, and, the smart card reader, or the validity of the smart card reader was also challenged. And the Supreme Court ruled that the smart card reader cannot, substitute, manual accreditation. That's accreditation using the voters register, because that was what the law, as at that time, recognizes. So, which means there were still loopholes. There were still loopholes with the electoral laws, but elections is a process, and so also electoral legal framework reforms, they are also a process. They will keep changing with the society. So you're all aware that the president signed the Electoral Act 2022. And so today we have new laws actually that are guiding the conduct of elections in Nigeria. So how does this affect election administration and the electoral process in Nigeria? I try to just point out some few sections of the Electoral Act and how it is going to shape the conduct of elections in Nigeria, between now, and 2023 and even beyond. One of the provisions, actually Section 3, Subsection 3, provided that election funds due to the Commission, in this case INEC, for any general election must be released to the Commission 1 year before the next general election. And so this means that if INEC have the funds that they require for the conduct of a general elections 1 year before the elections, they should take care of the logistics issues that we encountered in 2019. In fact, not just in 2019, there were logistics issues in 2011, which led to the postponement of the elections by 1 week. There were there were security issues rather in 2015, and still election materials were procured very late. Those were some of the reasons for the postponement of the 2015 general elections. And then we're all aware of what happened in 2019. Few hours to the commencement of poll, INEC had to shift the conduct of the 2019 general elections simply because there were logistics issues. Materials couldn't reach certain places on time. And so this provision actually, we expect that this provision will ensure that procurement of sensitive election materials are carried out on time, apart from sometimes, yes, you procure it, and then you will have to transport it to where it will be used. Some of these materials are procured outside the country, and some take up to like 3 months, for them to be transported into the country. So early release of funds to the Commission would guarantee, the procurement of election materials on time that deals with that issue. Then there's this provision also that provides that all staff of the Commission, all ad hoc staff, presiding officers, returning officers, security officials must swear to an oath of loyalty and neutrality, that they will not receive bribe, that they will be transparent, and impartial in their conduct. This is actually not, the new provision here is that security officials have been added. Hitherto, it was only, INEC officials, but right now, everybody is mandated by law. You must swear to an oath of loyalty and neutrality. Then we have this provision, Section 29, Subsection 1, which provides that every political party shall not later than 180 days before the date appointed for a general election submit to the Commission the list of candidates the party proposes to sponsor at elections, which means every political party must submit their list of candidates 6 months to election day. So when you have political parties submitting the list of their candidates 6 months, before election day, it means that INEC can better prepare. It means that we will not be having issues of omission of party logo and so on and so forth, on the ballot. So there is ample time for INEC to prepare. There's ample time, to ensure that every loophole is being blocked, to ensure that every processes, are being carried out in a way and manner that will build confidence in the process. So we have Section 32, which deals with the issue of omission of party logo on ballot. Based on this particular provision, 90 days before the conduct of the elections, all political parties are mandated to inspect, a sample of the ballot paper that will be used for that particular election. It's a sample, it's not the original. So what they have to do is to inspect whether their logo is on the ballot or not. A political party who has any complaint must write to the commission 90 days before the day of election, stating their particular complaint. Anything outside that, if a political party fails to notify in writing to the commission that their logo is not on the ballot, they have no basis to call for cancellation of the election, simply because their logo is not on the ballot. You agree with me that in the past, we've had instances where political parties, some political parties that don't even score up to 100 votes in a particular election, but it led to the cancellation of election simply because their logo was not captured on the ballot. This would reduce the wastage of funds actually that usually goes into this type of elections that are cancelled at the end of the day. So this is a great improvement. Section 34 deals with the issue of death of a candidate. I just try to paraphrase here so that, because we don't have time actually. Section 34, when you go through that particular section, it deals with occurrences like what happened in Kogi in 2015. Yes, Prince Abubakar Audu, was a candidate in the election. He died, after the commencement of the election, but before the declaration of result. That was a novel issue, actually, that was not known, that was not envisaged by the Electoral Act 2010 and neither the 1999 Constitution. So based on this provision, when a candidate for a governorship election or a presidential election dies after the commencement of election and then before the declaration of results, the deputy will continue with that election and then thereafter appoint a deputy. In the case of National Assembly elections, the election will be put on hold, and then the commission will have to conduct a fresh election. The process will have to start afresh, after 14 days. The Electoral Act mandates the commission to shift the election by 14 days and then conduct a fresh election into that legislative seat. So that takes care of the issue where a candidate dies, during, after the commencement of poll, but before the declaration of results. There are provisions also, for where a candidate dies, just before the commencement of election. INEC, the law mandates INEC to shift the election by 21 days and then gives the political party the opportunity to renominate another candidate. Then section 28, subsection 1, give timelines actually for the publication of notice of elections. And states that the notice of election must be published at least 360 days to election. That has been done actually, that has been complied with by INEC on the 28th of February, which was exactly 360 days to the 2023 general elections. So everybody now is in election mode already. The notice of election has been published. Section 47, subsection 2, empowers INEC to use smart card reader or any other technology for accreditation of votes. So that means that whatever INEC wants to use in the accreditation of voters, INEC is legally permitted now to use such a technological device for the purpose of accreditation of voters. So what we expect to see is that the actual figures for accredited voters, the courts can now rely on those technological devices in determining the number of accredited voters in a particular election. This is a great improvement. This will really help in the administration of elections in this country and the electoral process in general. We have section 50 subsection 2, which permits INEC to transmit election results electronically. I think it was last year, there was debate on this issue of transmission of results. We saw how the members of National Assembly, some of them came out to kick against it, that there was no network, in their constituency and so on and so forth. Thank God the general public, civil society organizations were able to protest, and that protest yielded results. The National Assembly rescinded that decision, and they now give INEC the permission to go ahead to transmit election results electronically if they so desire. So if INEC desires to transmit results electronically, they can do that now. This will also improve the conduct of elections from this year and beyond. Yes, I know before 2022, we have the Ekiti and Osun State governorship elections. This is a great improvement. We have section 51, subsection 2, which provides that the total number of accredited voters will become a factor in determining overvoting at election tribunals. Previously, what they use in determining overvoting is the number of registered voters. So where the number of registered voters in a particular polling unit exceeds, where the number of votes rather exceeds the number of registered voters, the result from that particular polling unit is said to be overvoting. Right now, the law provides that the total number of accredited voters will become a factor in determining overvoting. This means where the total number of votes cast exceeds the number of persons, accredited in a particular polling unit, that clearly shows that, there was overvoting in that particular polling unit. That's the implication of this particular provision. Then we have section 54, subsection 2, which makes provisions for persons with disabilities. Yes, a person with disability, a blind person, can now nominate somebody that will assist him, to thumbprint, to cast his vote, in the polling booth. There is a law that covers that now. And then INEC is also mandated to provide embossed, ballot materials, braille, ballot papers, magnifying glasses, and so on and so forth. Any assistive device that will help persons with disabilities to cast their vote. We have provisions, section 84 from section 9 to 11. Hitherto, there were just two methods for nomination of candidates: direct and indirect, primaries. But right now, a consensus has been introduced. Yes, as a method of nominating candidates by political parties. However, a political party that wishes to adopt, consensus for its primaries, all the aspirants that are contesting election, that are contesting that particular primary election, must sign, that they agree with the consensus. If there are 5 candidates and one person did not agree, and by agreeing, every aspirant must put it in writing. So if one person refuses to write that he agrees with the consensus arrangement, the implication is that there is no consensus. So that is that. Now, section 84, subsection 12, bars political appointees from being delegates or aspirants in a political party primary. You will recall that I earlier said that it was part of the proposals, contained in the 2005 Electoral Reform Bill. It was also part of the proposals presented to the National Assembly in 2010. However, it didn't scale through, in 2005, it didn't scale through in 2010. But we have this provision now that political appointees cannot be voting delegates in a party primary, and they cannot even contest as aspirants in a party primary, the only way they can contest, they must resign. And if they resign, it means that they are no longer political appointees. So any political appointee that wants to contest the election now, he must resign before, April 4th, when the primary elections will commence. Now, Section 84, Subsection 14, gives the Federal High Court jurisdiction in all pre-election matters. What we used to have is that the previous, the Electoral Act 2010, as amended, hitherto gave jurisdiction to state high courts as well as the federal high courts in determining, pre-election matters. During the conduct of the Anambra State governorship elections last year, we saw how somebody in Birnin Kudu in Jigawa State, got a court order to stop the elections, in Anambra State, or rather to affirm the validity of a faction, of the party of ABGA in Anambra State. There was a state high court also in Bauchi State in Azare, that also gave a judgment with regards to the election that was holding in Anambra State. So in order to ensure that to clean up, the process, to make it more organized, and more orderly, the Electoral Act 2022 gives the Federal High Court, jurisdiction in pre-election matters. So right now, only the Federal High Court has jurisdiction. The State High Court cannot hear pre-election matters. This, I believe, will bring sanity also, to the process. There won't be abuse of court processes, as it were. There are limits also for spending limits for candidates. The Electoral Act 2022 increased, some of those limits. And in the past, presidential candidates were allowed to spend 1 billion, governorship candidates, but right now it's 5 billion. Governorship candidates were allowed to spend 200 million. Right now it's 1 billion. For Senate, a candidate contesting senatorial elections is allowed to spend up to 100 million. House of Reps, 70 million. For State House of Assembly and chairman of the area councils in the FCT, because INEC conducts local government council elections in the FCT, they are allowed to spend up to 30 million. And then for councillors in the FCT, they are allowed to spend 5 million naira. In the past also, an individual could donate only a maximum of 1 million naira to a candidate. This has been increased to 50 million naira. 50 million naira. No individual can donate more than 50 million naira to a candidate contesting elections in Nigeria. So the spending limits have been increased actually. Now, Section 94 of the Electoral Act 2022 allows for early commencement of campaigns, 150 days to the commencement to the election day, which will end 24 hours, to the election. So hitherto it was 90 days. It used to be 90 days. Election starts 90 days to election day, and it ends 24 hours, to the election. However, this 150 days will give room for candidates to campaign vigorously, to reach the electorate and to share their manifesto, with the electorates, to convince the electorate why they should be voted into office. So candidates in our election have enough time now to tell Nigerians what they will do for them when they are voted into office. So Section 94, give INEC candidates more time, for campaigns. So these are some of the new, there are more actually. There are provisions that touches on electoral offenses. There are stiffer penalties for electoral offenses as well, and other provisions. But I believe, this and the other new provisions in this Electoral Act 2022 will help INEC in the conduct of, the 2023, general elections. And even before the 2023 general elections, we have elections in Ekiti and Osun State, where the Electoral Act 2022 will be enforced. The Electoral Act 2022, I believe, will bring sanity. It will help in electoral, in election administration. We should have better elections this time around. We should have a credible election this time around. The provision for, INEC to use any technological device, for accreditation of voters, is excellent. This accommodates the bimodal voter authentication system, which INEC has introduced, and which helps in reducing identity theft, during elections. In the overall, the electoral laws have helped in shaping election administration. They have helped in shaping the electoral process, since 2011. We've seen that in action. Since 2011, there have been improvements. And so it is my belief that, 2022 going forward, we should also see great improvements. So as I conclude, I have a question which I would like the participants, to look at critically and answer. What aspect of Nigeria's electoral laws do you think needs reform, needs amendment in order to guarantee credible elections and inclusivity? What aspect of Nigeria's electoral laws needs reform in order to guarantee, credible elections and inclusivity? Yes, in 2018, we saw the new, not too young to run act being signed into law. And that led to constitutional amendments. The age, for contesting elections were reduced, across board, from the office of the president, down to those that are contesting, for councillorship. So what aspect of the electoral laws in Nigeria do you think, needs to be reformed or needs to be amended to guarantee credible elections and inclusivity? So I will stop here. I've said a lot actually, and if there are questions, I would like to entertain, questions here. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much, sir. That was a very beautiful session. And I think we just take two contributions for a response to your question on the aspect of electoral reforms that we can take in order to improve election. So if you have any idea, any section of the electoral law that can be transformed to achieve that, you can just drop that in the chat box. You can please drop that in the chat box, please.
So if there are questions, as I said, would like to.
Okay, I hope my audio is better now.
Sorry, I didn't get you.
Okay, I'm seeking for response to your question, sir. And then
Okay.
everybody has questions too. Okay, I have one entry here. Let me read that out. Adamu Mohammed said, thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. The funds will be spent by candidates need to be reduced, otherwise it will lead to
Sorry, ma'am. It's like you are far from your mic. I can't hear you very well. I'm trying to. I'm struggling actually to hear. Yep. Okay. Well, maybe let me check the comment section. Let me check the comment section for questions. Somebody, okay, Adamu Mohammed. Yeah, thank you, Adamu. The funds to be spent by candidates needs to be reduced, otherwise it will lead to corruption. Imagine a councillor, imagine a councillor to be allowed to spend, 5 million. I believe, it's the National Assembly actually that are responsible for setting these laws. And I followed the conversations then, during the debates. They said they are just trying to align to present day realities. So what happens is that people spend so much money. I think where we should lay more of our emphasis is how to track, the sources of these funds, as well as, what these funds are being used, for. So this is an issue actually that the National Assembly, can do. Only the National Assembly can attend to. Yes. Abaji says, please, how can we get these electoral laws? I will share a soft copy of the signed Electoral Act, the one that was signed by the president. I will share. You will get it actually through Mr. Shaun, during the course of this program. And then okay. Yes, Blessing says she agrees with Adamu. The money to be spent is what putting something valuable, for the masses. Yes, you see, actually, after every elections, the electoral legal framework, is being reviewed, and then elections are conducted in cycles. So after the conduct of every elections, you review, what the electoral laws that were on ground, where there's need for amendments, you push for amendments. So I believe that if Nigerians feel that, the spending limits are too high, they can canvass for the reduction of these, the spending limits. And this is where you come in actually. And that's why I said, which area? Sit down very well. When you get this electoral act, look at it very well. When you go for elections, observe the process. What will you like to see change? What will you like to see change? So when you're able to identify a particular area that you feel needs change, you can now push for change in that direction. Yes, party primaries should find a way that will enable poor followers to vote what they want. I think direct primary election will allow that. Yes, it is up to the political parties to determine, they want to adopt direct primaries or indirect primaries.
Yeah, I think we lost our speaker, probably due to very cold. Unfortunately, we cannot be able to attend to all our questions because
Okay, sorry, I'm back.
okay. Sir, can you just take two more questions because we have another session yet and then
Yes, 2 more questions, right? All right. Let me check. Okay, Farah, please. Okay, I've said something on the first one. What has INEC done to solve the issue of delaying transportation of election materials? Can we produce them in Nigeria? Yes, there are election materials that are produced in Nigeria, and there are those that are produced outside Nigeria. And some of these things boils down to security issues, security of ballot papers. So some ballot papers are produced in Nigeria, some are produced outside Nigeria because these materials are produced in very large quantities. So you can't give it to one company. If they fail, it means that everything goes down the drain. And then Finbong number, my question is, does the campaign and manifesto entails that the candidate give money to the voters? Because we are seeing that by doing so, it is looking like they are buying our vote. No, what the Electoral Act, envisage, is the erecting of billboards, printing of posters, adverts on newspapers and magazines, radio programs. How much do you spend on playing for playing of your jingles across different radio stations, television stations, and so on and so forth? So this money, there is no consideration that politicians or candidates are expected to give money to voters. No, that's not what it's meant for. And vote buying is an offense under this Electoral Act. Even under the Electoral 2010 as amended, it was an offense. Under the 2022 Electoral Act, it's still an offense. Anyone that is caught guilty of vote buying, is liable to 12 months imprisonment or and fine as well. So vote buying is against actually the electoral laws in this country. So I think I've answered 2 questions, right?
yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Selling of votes, you are liable to 12 months imprisonment or a fine of 100,000 or even both. So actually, it is an offense to sell your vote. It is an offense, to buy votes. So I think I've answered more than 2 questions. Can you hear me?
Anybody hear me? Can anybody hear me? All right. So, thank you very much, sir, for that beautiful session. It's unfortunate that we couldn't attend to all the questions, and it's also actually impressive that I saw very deep thoughts in the comment section that shows that our participants are actually following through with the conversation that.
Nohada, are you saying something? Because I can't hear you.
Okay, my voice is still low, right? Hello. Hello.
Okay, I don't think anybody is speaking. If you can hear me, I'm Shion Justin. Let me see it on the chat because I'm not sure anybody is saying anything. Okay, beautiful. I think I'll just take over from here while Nodia will fix our audio challenge. Mr. Moore, thank you so much for uh, coming to share this great resource with the team. I'm glad that you really kept us up to date with everything related to the elections, the electoral laws, and the frameworks that we're going to govern 2023 general elections. We really want to appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you for the privilege.
You're always welcome, sir. And we're looking forward to hearing more from you, even as the 2023 elections keep getting closer.
Certainly.
Okay. That's fine. Thank you, sir. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I will go straight to the second segment of the presentation. We'll go straight quickly. I'm going to start sharing while before Nada will take over. I'm going to be sharing with you on democracy and the state. Actually, we're supposed to do this before Mr. Moret comes up. But it's important we have it that way. And I also believe that all of you, you're going to participate in this session just like you did in the first one. So I'm going to be sharing with you about democracy. What is democracy? What makes democracy work? These are some of the matters that I'm going to be bringing up quickly as we progress. Okay, so let's take advantage of the text of the chat box. I have some questions that I'm going to be sharing with you. Time will not allow me to take from your expectations, but the purpose of this session is to deepen our understanding of democracy. Everyone has a voice that deserves to be heard. So we need to understand what democracy means. If you don't understand democracy, you can't contribute to promoting democratic ideals, especially in a place like Nigeria. So let's begin with this question, or rather, just have this question in your mind. You can screenshot it because we might come back to discuss it later. The question I like asking whenever I talk about democracy is, do we deserve the kind of leadership that we've got in Nigeria? Do we deserve the kind of leadership that we have gotten in Nigeria? So you can be putting your thoughts on the chat box. I know some of us say no, yes, no, yes, no, yes. But what I will just tell you to do. Hello, can everybody see my screen? And what screen are you seeing? Let me know what screen you're seeing. Okay. Okay. So it means I might have to do similar thing like I did last time. Okay, so we'll just go like this. I believe everyone can see this now, right? So the question I'm asking is, do we deserve the kind of leadership that we have gotten in Nigeria? So let me hear from you in the chat box. Then we're also we're supposed to debate. So take notes, all of you stay glued to your group because a lot of questions will be coming up later. We might have group work or do a debate, but just stay connected to the session. Like some of the questions I want to ask you is representative democracy, that is a system of regularly elected representatives, is it adequate for giving voice to the will of the people? As democracy delivered in Nigeria, is success of democracy impossible without participation of citizens? Is democracy the best form of government in Africa? So I would love this debate to continue, but I don't know that I will have the time for us to do this debate. But Nadia, just time me and let me see how it goes. If we don't do this debate, maybe we might take it over to another session or another class or to our different groups. Well, I'm sure that all of you have taken note of these questions, right? Good. So let's continue. Everyone, what do you understand by the word democracy? What is democracy? Let me hear from you quickly on the chat box. What is democracy? Okay, democracy is a system of government where people rule themselves directly to or through their representatives. Thank you, Adamu, for that. Yes, Abubakar Tajidin says government of the people. That's right. Can I get more? Let me get two more, then we continue. It means equity in governance. Democracy is a representative system of government. Democracy is government of the people, for the people, by the people. Democracy is ruled by the people, government of the people, for the people, and by the people. Government of the people, and by the people. A system of government by the whole population of all the eligible members. Okay, beautiful, beautiful. So I thank you for all of you for those comments on the chat box. Thank you. I'm enjoying it. Okay, so let's rush because of time. All of you are right. When we talk of democracy, there are two words that are joined together. One is demos, and the other one is what? Kratos. Demos and what? Kratos. These two words, they're actually called from the Greek word. They are called from Greek meaning of demos, of democracy. So if you merge it together, it's demos kratos. I'm sure some of you have heard of demos kratos before, right? So the word democracy stems from the Greek language demos, which means the people, and kratos, which means govern. So we can say democracy means rule by the people. So take note of it. It means rule by the people. There are other definitions of democracy, and like I told you, it can be summarized as a rule by the people. But the question we ask is, who are the people? Yes, it is important to note that the democracy also provides a protection for minorities, and it's not to be the tyranny of the majority. Whenever we talk about rule by the people and we start wondering who are the people, it's like you find a few group of people ruling and commanding a large portion of the people. So you see some people feeling marginalized from the entire rule. So this no one want to explain, because democracy ensures that everybody is carried along. So it talks about rule by the people. There are democratic principles which include human rights, separation of powers, the right to vote, and good governance. So we're looking at them. So we also talk about freedom, democratic freedoms. See, democratic freedoms are very important, and they include personal freedoms, which include the freedom of religion, expression, association, movement, privacy. We also have legal and judicial protections. Democracy ensures that what the judiciary and the legal systems are protected, because they are the keepers of the law. They are the keepers of democracy. Now we get to, it's also spoke about political freedom, which means limited government, freedom of speech and press, and so on. It also talks about economic freedom. So, but all of us know a popular definition of democracy, which is called what? Government of the people, by the people, and government for the people. I want to give two people opportunities to talk. The question is, what does this mean? What does what this mean? When they say government of the people, government and by the people, and government for the people, what does it mean? I want to hear from you quickly, everybody. So let me see two people who are going to give opportunity to talk. What does government of the people, or government by the people, or government for the people, what does it mean? Are we ready? Anybody indicating interest? Okay, yes. So Nanyak, please unmute yourself. Let me hear you.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So quickly, I want to say government of the people, by people, and for the people. So the native explanation I could give to it is the fact that from yourself, you have people that take care of the affairs concerning you, about you, and by you. So that means one among the citizen should take control of power, should be in charge of leadership, self-service, and all of that for the people in the particular country. And hello.
Okay. Yes, I'm with you.
So I'm trying to say that from a citizen, so you must be a Nigerian to take affairs, control of issues concerning Nigerian, about Nigerians. So from Nigeria, someone should take
okay.
affairs of.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, thank you for that explanation from Nanyak. So let me hear from Cecilia. Cecilia, quickly. Let me hear from you.
Good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
When we say government of the people, by the people, and for the people, it means that the person elected should be a citizen of the country, and why he's elected is those majority, as in the people that elected it. So he should go there. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
When he's been elected by the people, he should work for the people and not for himself. Since he's been elected by the people, he should work for the people and not for himself. That is my own simple understanding of government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Hello? That network, could it be my own side or from their angle? Hello?
Okay, so thank you very much, Cecilia. Thank you. I didn't know I was muted. So what I want to hear now is to hear from Obida. Obida, please unmute yourself.
All right, good afternoon, everyone.
Can you hear me, Obida?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, please go ahead.
All right, going by the definition of democracy as a system of government of the people, by the people, and for the people, which is known as a definition by Abraham Lincoln. Now, when we say of the people, we don't refer to any kind of people, but we refer to a particular group of people occupying a particular geographical area with common beliefs, norms, and values. And everything is of them. It's not all people, but a particular set of people, for instance, Nigeria. Now, when we say by the people, it means the leadership should be within the people themselves, and there should be no segregation, but there should be equality in the leadership and administration. For instance, Nigeria as a country, we cannot invite a Ghanaian or an Ethiopian from Ethiopia to come and rule Nigeria. That would defect the definition of Abraham Lincoln, by the people. And then when we say for the people, we mean all the common good, all the achievements, should be for the common interest of the people. That means for the people is promoting the same values, the same interests that the people have in mind. When you agree as a people to choose a leader democratically, that means that person you elect as a leader is there to represent, and everything he's going to do is going to do it for you. Now, in this regard, we can look at the senators we have. These people are the ones representing our different constituencies, regardless of the fact that we are all united as Nigerians. So what they do there is to represent and bring home projects for the common interest of the people. You understand? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Opida. I love the insights you gave. Okay, so let me hear from Adamu, the last person. Adamu, unmute yourself. Let's hear from you.
Good afternoon to you all. What I understand by this definition given by Abraham Lincoln is that by government of the people, he simply means that the government is being constituted by people of a particular geographical territory that they surrender to that government. And by saying by the people, he simply means that it is the majority of the people that give their consent to that government. Okay, so democracy simply means that, according to him, by saying that it is by the people, this means that it is the majority of people that cast their votes to elect that particular leader, which formed the government of democracy. Okay, this means that those that are inheriting the government or leadership, they are not practicing democracy because it is not formed by the majority consent of that citizens. Okay, so by saying by the people, it simply means that the government is constituted by the majority of the citizens, their consent to that government. Okay, the last part of the definition given by Abraham Lincoln is that for the people. This means that the essence of surrendering their interest to that government is to provide them with social amenities. For the people means that the government is there to provide social amenities and necessary infrastructures, security, and other things for the citizens, and to protect their interests economically, politically, and otherwise. Understanding of this definition. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. All of you have spoken excellently, and I'm happy that you understand these things clearly. Okay, so Nadia, please go ahead, and then I will continue with the conversation. However, I saw some people dropped their contribution on the chat. So yes, Farah is also saying government of the people means the government belongs to the people, or the people have the power. Then by the people means the people influence the government. For the people means the government must favor the people. Abdullah said the people are given responsibility in electing their representative. Numshi says it means people agree, take action, and remain responsible for whatever outcome altogether. Beautiful. So the Modi says people are the government, and without them there will be no government. You guys have spoken excellently. It's just look as if I'm actually dealing with they were political science students. I'm not surprised if many of you are studying the political science. Nadia, please go ahead and share the screen so that everyone can see it from your own end. Okay, so from all the definitions that we have given, you agree with me that it is now obvious, right, to note that what democracy cannot happen without what? The people. So when we say government of the people, we mean that the government is resulting from the people, it's coming out from the people. Yeah, right? That's what it means. When we say the government by the people, it means that the government was constituted through the activity or effort of the people, right? And when we say government for the people, it means that the government must benefit the people. The purpose of the government is the people. So without the people, there is no government, right? That's what it means. So, but when we now say government, what does it mean? Remember, Abraham Lincoln says government, democracy is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Now we have gotten an understanding of what by the people, for the people, and of the people means. Now, what does government means? I believe if we're able to break this definition, we're going to understand what Abraham Lincoln was saying. Are we together, everybody? Good. So, what is government all about? What is government all about? Can somebody tell me on the chat box? So they say government. What is government? What is government? Okay, on the chat box, who is saying, yeah, government means people, okay? Yeah, Numshi say government means a standard guiding set of people with same interests, correct? Okay, yes. Beautiful. So government is a set of leadership elected by the people. We are all correct, guys. We are all correct. All of you are saying the right thing, and I agree with everything you have said. So when we say government, what government simply means, we're saying management and leadership of the people. Do you all agree with me that that's what government means? So government means what? Management and leadership of what? The people. That's what government is. So when we now want to combine that definition, we'll say that what? Democracy is the leadership and the management of the people, by the people, and for the people, right? Now, we need to rush through. Right, I'm going to rush through. There's no time. I'm on slide 17 now. When we talk of democracy, there are several things that make democracy democracy. Like the question I was asking, do you think democracy is what it is in Africa, especially in Nigeria? So my work this afternoon, let me just give you quickly because of time. Then I will just move to, so I can go to a part of further discussion. There are 7 major things that makes democracy work. If you check and you don't have these 7 things, democracy cannot work. Yeah? You don't have what we call democracy. Number 1, rule of law. The first ingredient that makes democracy is the rule of law. The rule of law is not only the enforcement of legal norms, it also connotes the principles of the supremacy of the law above every other thing. So, when we talk of rule of law, we're saying that the law will always have its rule, no matter who is involved, whether it's the governor or the president or anybody. The law has its preeminence over everything. That's what rule of law means. So imagine having a democracy without rule of law. It's not democracy. It's only when the so-called leader is comfortable, that's when the law comes into effect. It's only when it comes to my own interest that I will enforce the law against those who are corrupt. And me, I'm corrupt, nobody can challenge me. That is not democracy. It doesn't mean, if that happens, it doesn't make democracy democracy. Are we together, everyone? Then the second ingredient is accountability. Accountability is critical to democracy. And all this, it has to do with the assumption that if citizens are genuinely given opportunities to evaluate the responsibility of government in terms of satisfaction of their own needs and requests, they are capable of doing so. So accountability just have to, can the citizens conveniently grade or evaluate the delivery of services, goods and services by the government? Are the people free to talk about the things that they are comfortable with and the things they are not comfortable with? Accountability also means who are elected or who we call our representatives, they come back and they are answerable to the people. All of us know that in democracy, the office of the citizen is the highest office. And that is the office we must uplift in Nigeria, the office of the citizen, where the people matters, no matter who is who in power. The people are the most important thing that it takes care of. So if the citizens are the ones that employed them, how come they don't come back to give errands? None of you will give somebody, send somebody on an errand and give him 50 naira. Go and buy from me pure water, and the person returns and doesn't give you the 50, the pure water, doesn't give you 50 naira. Many of us will not tolerate that. And that is why we need to be conscious of what people push forward to us in the name of democracy. So accountability is very important in government, right? Accountability is the obligation of elected political leaders to answer for their political decisions when asked by citizens, electors, or other constitutional bodies. So the bodies that the people set up. Accountability means that the elected political leaders, they are answerable for every political decision that they make. So take note of that, cool? Then ingredient 3 and 4 has to do with participation and what? Competition. Participation means everybody is participating, everybody is active, is part of the entire decision-making process. So democracy cannot work without participation. Democracy also gives room for competition, in the sense that if somebody have a better idea, he can present it, and if he's able to win the people, then it goes on. But democracy is dead when there is only one person who controls everything and there's no competition, there's no room for competition. A lot of times, several governments, state and federal, don't give room for competition at all. Are we together? So if you're with me, I want to be seeing the chat bubbling, right? I want to remember, I like seeing the chat bubbling. Yes, thank you for those who are already putting up their reactions. You see, I like people to challenge everything that is being said. So that's why I like seeing people making reactions on the chat box. Okay, great. Yeah, so I will just go to the next one, which is ingredient 5 and 6, which is freedom and equality. Freedom and equality. These are the two main democratic ideals. Yeah, because they are central to a number of normative definition of democracy. Everybody, when they talk of democracy, what comes to their mind is freedom. What comes to their mind? Equality. Because democracy doesn't make somebody higher than the other. All of law. So democracy doesn't favor others and top others. That's why a lot of people and a lot of right groups are coming up to make their voice known. So freedom is very, very, very important. You know, understand? So they are right. Remember when I mentioned democratic principles earlier, I said democratic provides freedom for the people. And some of those freedoms include what? Personal freedoms, which include freedom to speech, freedom to movement, freedom to association, freedom of choices of thought and religion. These are some of the freedoms that democracy has put in place for us, right? So then the last ingredient that I want to talk about is responsiveness. See, democracy it will not be sweet if democracy is not responsive. What does it mean to be responsive? It refers to the capacity to satisfy the governed. So if the people say this is what we want, and the government doesn't respond to what people want, it's not democracy. Or if the government doesn't even respond in the right way to what people want, it's not democracy. Or if the government doesn't even respond in quick terms to what the people want, it's not democracy. So it has to do with the capacity to satisfy those who you are governing by executing its policies in a way that corresponds to their demands. So you see, from all of these ingredients, you see that democracy is just a system of government that supports the people, promotes the people, defends the people, and do what? It's everything is for the people, and it is run by the people. So anybody who finds himself in power, who do you look at? The people. Who do you want to satisfy? The people. Who do you listen to? To the people. So let's take note of that. I know we are running short of time, so that's why I'm rushing. But if your reactions on the chat box will let me know whether you're offering or not. Okay, Fireplace is saying, looking at this ingredient, Nigeria is not practicing true democracy. He say, I look forward to the day that Nigeria will begin to practice true democracy. Really? Okay. Okay, thank you. So are we together, everybody? Okay, so I will just proceed with the sessions. So like I told you, I'm rushing. I'm present on slide 28, and the things I want to talk about next are the key features of democracy. When we talk of democracy, what makes democracy? What are the things that democracy carries along with it? What are the features of democracy? So the number one feature of democracy is what? Elections. What does everybody? Elections. Elections are critical to democracy. Very, very critical. One, elections. And I will talk about elections later on, right? Number two, democracy, the two feature of democracy is that democracy upholds the freedom of belief, opinion of people. Number three features is that citizens are politically equal under the law. Number four, it promotes independent and undiscriminatory judiciary, right? Number five, it ensures that the rule of law is what? Is enforced and is protected, right? So there are many other features. So let me talk about elections. See, you can't talk about democracy without talking about elections because elections is critical to democracy. Democracy has to do with, okay, time does not permit us of giving us an idea of how democracy started in the ancient Greek. I would have given us in the pattern of the history. Now, it's difficult for all the 200 million Nigerians to lead and rule, to make decisions about resources, to manage the policies and every other thing related to Nigeria. So what is the best way to do this thing? Let's get few people who will represent our interests and lead us to get to the desired result that the people want. The question is, how do we get those representatives? It's definitely through a system of elections. That's why the first and most important feature of democracy are the elections. So that's why we are also taking time to take you through the process of the electoral process, just like Mohere just did. Showed you the legal frameworks that make elections possible. And this is supposed to give you a light of how to engage the system, right? So, number one principle of election is called universal suffrage. What is universal suffrage? Let me see somebody's chat. What is universal suffrage? When they say universal suffrage, what does it mean? What does it mean on the chat box? Okay. Right to vote for all. Beautiful. Thank you, Juliet, for that. Okay, somebody said they are not seeing the chat, the screen. Okay, yes. Okay. Beautiful. So I'm sure all of us are together. Thank you for that. So when we talk of universal suffrage, it talks about a legal system that tells us how somebody will vote and when he should vote. For instance, universal suffrage in Nigeria says that anybody that gets to 18 years can vote and be voted for. Number two features of elections is that elections is governed by certain rules. Remember, Moret said it. There must be a legal framework that makes election works. And if that legal framework is weak, the outcome of the elections will be weak. Let's look at Nigeria elections from 2003 elections, 2007 to 2011, 2015 elections. You realize that we started getting better from 2011 elections. Why? Because we started putting up the right legal frameworks to make election work. Why were we all shouting that the president should sign the Electoral Act? It's because we want to ensure that there is a proper legal framework for the conduct of 2023 elections. So one of the major features of elections is that elections must be governed by certain rules which are known. Now, anytime we don't have adequate laws, we enter trouble. Remember during Obasanjo Atiku era, when Atiku was moving out of the major political party, remember there were a lot of legal issues that the constitution did not make provision for. How can the president be in this party and the vice president want to leave the party? Then the vice president should resign his position. The whole government should resign. When people say, no, the constitution only identifies political parties, but they don't identify individuals. There's several debates. Okay, let's fast forward. 2015 election in Kogi State. When after the election was conducted and the candidate won, what happened? The candidate that won the election, that is Ali Audu in Kogi State, from APC, he died. And then there was a lot of crisis. Who takes over? What's the procedure for taking over? Can his deputy take over the mandate? No, different debates like that. And it's because there was no proper constitutional backing for that. Okay, let's look at what also has been happening in political parties. Look at what happened recently in Ebonyi State, when the Court of Law, the High Court, sacked the governor, the deputy governor, and all the 17 House of Assembly members because they defected from PDP to APC. And then what was the issues? They were elected under PDP. And so PDP is known as the the party with the majority vote. Now, these people who were given mandate of PDP, the court says that when they moved, they also forfeited the mandate because the mandate was for PDP, since the constitution does not identify an independent candidate yet. So what I'm saying is, if there are no known rules, legal frameworks for conducting elections, the outcome of elections will always be controversial. So democracy ensures that elections are conducted under certain rules. Then it also ensures that there are uncertain outcomes. It means anybody can win. If you have an election that you know the person is winning, you know that there's going to be challenge. So that's one of the things. The law also says that there is no reversal of result after the vote has been calculated and conducted. So nobody will just say, okay, because these people won, I'm overturning the results. You know, that was what happened in 1993 with what's his name, MK Abiola, that also almost raised a crisis that made Abacha to continue the lead, to continue the rule of Nigeria. Excuse me. I believe everyone, you're following me, right? So now the elections must be free and fair. I'm sure from primary school when we were young, all of us are hearing that elections must be free, elections must be fair. But how many of you know what it means for elections to be free, what it means for elections to be fair? Because they are not the same. They are different entities, right? So I'm going to be sharing with us what it means for elections to be free. When we say elections are free, it means that the legal barriers to enter into the political arena, they are low. So everybody is free to enter. If the legal barriers are not low, it means certain part of the people will be sidelined from the process, which means the government is no longer a democracy of the people. Are we getting it? So again, elections are free when there is substantial freedom for candidates and partisans of different political parties to campaign. It means there are free speech, free assembly, free movement. That's when election is free. Election is not free when you stop people from moving and you that want to contest, you're moving. It means you're not competing with the person on equal grounds. So election is not free when you don't allow the person's access to the radio house and it's only you that want to access the radio house or the television house or access the newspaper. The elections are not free. And you know that this is what is happening with some state governments, right? Elections are not free when a particular candidate who is also contesting, who have an interest in the election, is supplying more than 70% of the delegates. And that is why the new electoral law says that any political appointee cannot be automatic delegates to any political party primaries. So elections are free when voters experience little or no cohesion in exercising electoral choices. Nobody will come and make voters to fight voters or harass them to vote for candidates that they don't want to vote. It means the election is not free. So there are several other system things that make elections free, which time will not permit me to share in this presentation. But I also tell you when elections are fair. When are elections fair? Elections are fair when they are administered by a neutral, independent, and competent authority like INEC. But when the body is controlled by the government and the body is influenced by a particular part of a political interest group, then the election that body will be conducting is not fair. And that's why we see a lot of problems with school politics. You know, when school SUG politics turns into crisis, because the body that is the ELCOM conducting it are partisan, or they are supporting one party or one political group than the other. Elections are fair when the police, military, and courts, they treat every candidate and parties impartially. Elections are not fair when the security are favoring the other and not favoring and making the other to feel marginalized even from the system. So elections are not fair if it happens like that, right? So when elections are fair when contenders have access to the public media. Take note of that. Elections are fair when independent monitoring of the voting and vote counting is allowed at all locations. Elections are fair when the ballot is secret and is protected. The secrecy of the ballot is protected. Elections are fair when the court of law is transparent in any judgment, especially on pre or post-election petitions. So let's take note of all of these things. And these are the things that make elections free or fair. I have a proposal for you. Let me hear from you quickly on the chat box, and I will give room for two people to share. The question is democracy the best form of government? Let me hear from you quickly. Is democracy the best form of government? Okay. So that's interesting to see what we're having in the chat box. Let me see if there is anybody who wants to talk. Okay, nobody yet. Okay, so yeah, all of us, we all have different opinions, and everyone is entitled to opinions based on the quality or the picture of democracy we have all experienced. But let me just continue with my presentation so you understand what it means. Cool? So no one pretends that democracy is perfect or all wise. Indeed, it has been said that democracy is the worst form of government, except all those forms that have been tried from time to time, according to Winston Churchill. Right? So, but there's something that I want you to know, that democracy has some advantages that is worth trying. For instance, democracies are better at protecting basic human rights. A lot of people that want democracies because they don't want their rights to be trampled. Imagine, how many of us want to go back to military regime? You don't want to, because now you can come take your phone and insult Buhari on your phone and you go free. You can't do that if not because of democracy. So democracies are better at constraining the power of the state. Democracies also do not commit genocide. I've not seen democracies committing genocide. Check most of the wars that took place. It took place among autocratic government. You get, so democracies, they're difficult. They don't serve their people, because one of the fundamental human rights of the people is right to life. You also right to social. We call it social security. So, and social security covers everything that makes a person to live well, make sound judgment. It includes health, it includes power, electricity, it includes education. Take note of that. So, democracies, they don't serve their people. Democracies are better at representing the will of the people. The day that the people doesn't want the leadership, they change them. So, imagine if you are not fighting democracy, we won't be able to change our leaders, right? Democracies do not fight each other. I've not seen democracies fighting each other. It's rare, actually. Democracies are more stable. They are less prone to coups, because if you don't want a leader, you can change a person. But it's when the people know that this leader is there permanently, then they organize coup. So democracies are less prone to coups, right? Because they have mechanisms for transferring power, right? So most people around the world also want democracy. Take note. So what's the secret of democracy? The secret of democracy's success in many ways is their consistency over time. If you check, many nations have practiced democracy for long because it has been consistent. That's why people feel, if democracy has been consistent, let's go for it. What's the edge of democracy? Democracy is not only have a self-correcting mechanism, but also mechanism for a systematic means of changing ineffective leadership. This allows for a stable transition to a new policy framework that might allow for a more effective process of addressing the problems that the country is facing, one that is appropriate for its particular circumstances. So, what are the bots, few bots on democracy? Yes, many democracies have not delivered as much people as people had hoped for, like Nigeria, right? But the way to get what you want is to strengthen the democracy, to deal with the issues of corruption and inequality, and not to think that if you turn away from democracy, you will do better. Take note. A lot of people say, let's go back to military regime. Military was this. No. The way to get the best of democracy is to strengthen democracy. Imagine all the things I mentioned to you as qualities or ingredients that make democracy work. Imagine if all of these things are strengthened in the state. What do you expect? There will be development, right? So it's not always to rush back and say, no, we want to go back to the military regime or go back to autocratic regime. But what we should be thinking always is to think of what? How do we strengthen democracy? How do we strengthen equality and the rule of law? How do we eliminate corruption from our system? That's one of the ways to actually fix democracy. So take note, there are no perfect democracies in the world. Even among industrialized democracies, there are deficiencies. It is an ongoing process. Countries that have established these checks and balances on power, that have rules that protect civil society and give opportunities for popular participation more successfully, use the resources. So I'm saying that there's still a chance. There's still a chance. And we're getting there gradually from the picture you see me sharing. You see that we're getting there gradually, right? What democracy gives, if you look to national dailies, you see a lot of cartoons, see cartoons like this. These are opportunities we are enjoying from democracy, right? So a clear case of the freedom that comes with democracy is what people enjoy so much, even when they are suffering and they can't eat. But as far as they have their voice protected, people don't mind. So, core purpose of democracy to prevent bad management of the process that ensures proper welfare and development of the people and the area, to ensure that the best possible hands get the chance to make decisions and implement such for the good of all. That is the core purpose of democracy. So we should ensure that at every point we don't allow bad people to get there, and we ensure that the best possible hands get there. Because if the best hands get there, then you have the best that will come to you, right? And that's why I'm going to still ask a question later on, that do we deserve the kind of leadership that we have got in Nigeria? I would like to hear the debate from us. So let's me just round up. What are shareholders of a company most concerned about? Every time you have a company, what is the shareholders concerned? They are interested in what? Annual dividends. And if the annual dividends is not coming, what do? They call for a leadership, a meeting, and they sack the leadership of the company. That's what many banks have done. When there's no returns, they sack the leadership. And that is it with democracy. If the people who employed the elected officials don't get the best, what are they supposed to do? Change the leadership. Because every shareholder wants a profit, right? And that profit is dependent on the kind of leadership that the company gets. The same thing with Nigeria. If we want Nigeria to work, what will make Nigeria work will be dependent on the quality of leadership that Nigeria gets in 2023. Right? So let's have this quick discussion as I round up my session, right? So can we find these ingredients that I mentioned in our country's democracy? How developed are the opportunities for participation and competition in our democracy? And then the last question I want to ask us is what I asked earlier. Do we deserve the kind of leadership that we've got in Nigeria? Nadia, probably you can just share the session of the questions that I've asked. Maybe we should begin with the question. Do we deserve the kind of leadership that we have got in Nigeria? Maybe we can give 2 to 3 people opportunity to share. Anybody that lifts their hands up can just allow them to, you can unmute them so that you allow them to unmute themselves so that we can hear from them. Thank you very much, everyone. I hope you are better, you have a better understanding of what democracy means. And a better understanding of what makes democracy work, because this is very critical to public leadership. Nobody that will want to go for public leadership that should not understand the concept of democracy. Okay. Thank you. So over to you, Noadia. Let's get people to respond and ask questions. Time will not permit us to do the group work, but probably they can continue the conversations on the group. So if you have any question, you can put your hands up, or if you want to respond to the questions I've asked, you can put your hands up. Noadia, over to you.
Okay.
So it's like you're talking and like I'm not hearing you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
You just check your earpiece in case you're using earpiece. Or you can just use the laptop direct.
Okay. Can you hear me?
It's very, very low. Okay, once she rectifies that, if you have any question, just put your hands up and then you'll be unmuted to speak. If you have a question, you can also put it on the chat box.
Hello?
Yes, Nadia, I hear you.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for this section. Just briefly go into the discussion section. Okay, if we have anyone that wants to respond to any of the questions we have, see your hands so that responses to questions.
Maybe I'm not hearing you.
Responses to the question, and then we can also take questions from the participants.
Nadia, I'm not hearing you.
Okay, Farah, please, I can see your hand up. You can unmute yourself and then give your contribution.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Farah.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you for the beautiful presentation, sir. Well, I have a question. Why is it that in Nigeria, it's very, very difficult to sack a president? It makes the process is stiffened to the point that it's just like we cannot do anything about it when a president is being elected. And when he doesn't deliver properly to the masses, we can't do anything about it.
Okay. So can we get more questions, Nadia, so that I will just respond to them all together? Is there anybody? Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe I should just continue, right? Are you there, Nadia?
Yes, sir, you can just respond.
Are you there? Okay, beautiful. Okay, so Farah Praise is asking, why is it very difficult to sack a president in Nigeria? Of course, sacking a president should not be something you do easily. Do you know what it means to be the president? The president means he's the number one citizen that the over 200 million Nigerians wanted to be in power, or voted, or majority of Nigerians want to be in power. So to sack the president means you have to do away with the mandate of the majority of the people. So it should be very difficult. Of course, the Constitution has put in place mechanisms for impeaching the president. But see, it's a very serious matter, right? You know, you can't sack the president the way you sack your House of Assembly members, because so the procedures cannot be the same. Just like the procedures for conducting the elections and the cost of conducting elections is different. The cost of conducting the presidential election is different. I think this year will be spending over 130 billion naira to conduct the 2023 elections. So imagine that big amount of money. So it means if you sack the president, it will cost us it will cost us even more. Do you understand? So, but of course, there are procedures for sacking the president, and if you can check it in the constitution, I believe number one, if you think the president is doing any misconduct, right, you need to get make a publication and get your facts very well. And when you do that, put it in a petition or in a letter. And when you get in a letter, you need to get more than 1/3 of the members of the National Assembly, both the Senate and the House of Representatives, to do that. So when we talk of gross misconduct, the Constitution also gave what it means by gross misconduct. Some people just come up with something and say the president should be sacked. Like I think the grave violation or breach of the provision of this Constitution or a misconduct of such nature as amount in the opinion of the National Assembly to gross misconduct. That's what the Constitution says should be the criteria for sacking the president. So when saying gross, so it's when the Constitution says this is what the president should do, and the president out of nowhere was not following it. And it means the president who is supposed to be custodian of the Constitution is doing what? Is abusing it. That's one of the things you can call a gross misconduct. But a gross misconduct is heavy. You can't. It's difficult to ascertain. And that's the Constitution says that the National Assembly are the ones to determine what they call gross misconduct, right? Then the Constitution also says that if after you have gotten to 1/3 of the vote of the signatures of those in the National Assembly, then the Senate president must within 7 days serve the president, right? And the members of the National Assembly with what? The notice of the allegation that anybody is making against the president. And of course, the president has a right to respond to it. The Constitution allows the president to reply, and if they are not satisfied, they cannot go ahead with the procedure, right? So, and if they come to vote the president now, there is a majority. They must get majority. It's at least 1/3 of the House of Assembly must also support that, right? And of course, they also set up a panel. Especially if it is becoming more and more delicate. So you see, the sacking of the president is not something that is cheap. Yeah? It's not something that is cheap. And the Constitution also allows that if the president is sacked, the vice president can take over, unless both of them are sacked. Yeah. So, Father, you understand? In any nation, especially a nation like Nigeria that were not practicing the parliamentary system of government, you can't sack the president. If it's a parliamentary system of government that in one sitting, the House can just cast a vote of no confidence on the Prime Minister, and the next person that is the party with the highest number of representation can put up a new Prime Minister. That's why you see what has been happening in the UK. It's like anytime they are tired of their Prime Minister, they will just come up and say, Prime Minister, you have to go. Answer your question, Farah? Okay. Thank you, Farah, for that amazing question. Okay, any other question? Okay, somebody says, yes, sir. Talk about the immunity system in general, not just the president. Yeah, the immunity, of course, prevents the president from being investigated, not just presidents, even some persons in power from being investigated. But of course, it also provided to pay for impeaching the president, right? Somebody said America tried former President Trump but failed. Yes, because they couldn't get the majority of the votes against the president. So these are very delicate matters. You can't, if you are tired of the president, the safest way to do it is just to either ask the president to resign by civil pressure, or wait when it is time for another election, you change and put the person you want. Okay, so going by what we see in the Nigerian state, okay, I think the questions are fast disappearing. No, are you seeing any? going by what we see in the Nigerian system of governance, the laws seems to be made for the poor. What can we do to ensure that the laws are for all? Actually, the laws are made for all. So, and that is why before laws are made, there are a lot of procedures. We advise everybody to be part of it. So there are a lot of laws that Nigerians, the citizens don't know that it's even being discussed in the House of Assembly, and before you know it, it's passed into law. For instance, the laws that many state governments now put up for service benefits for elected officials. Those laws should have been fought seriously. You get so Nigerians, the way to just ensure that there's no wrong law is for you to participate in the lawmaking. You need to learn about lawmaking. I don't know if time will permit us, so we can tell one of the facilitators to tell you about how laws are made and how you. Yes, there's a session for that. When we start talking about policies, I think there are 4 different ways of talking to you about policies. They will tell you how policies are made and how you as young people can take advantage of the policies of the process to ensure that the policies are inclusive and they are policies that will move us to a good to make us developed. Okay, yeah, somebody is asking, sir, do you think that here in our country, Nigeria, there will be a day that will reach success and achieve those mandates listed and also eradicate corruption? Yes, I believe a day is coming. The reason why we are training people like you and many others, and it's not just youth league engagement that is going on, there are several trainings. And personally participating in one is a high level training on governance and policies and politics. So with all of these trainings happening, we are raising a generation of people that are informed, a generation of people that will challenge the status quo and do the right thing. So don't be scared. Let us all be optimistic. What is important is let everybody lead in his corner. Lead in your corner, do the right thing in your corner, and then we'll get Nigeria moving forward. Somebody said that democracy is not ripe enough, sir. I think we are still going. Like I told you, there are no perfect democracies, but one thing that is obvious is that we're improving, right? We are doing very well. So let's just keep improving. We talk of people like US and Co. These guys have been consistent in practicing democracy for over 200 years. So and they are still learning. You still see a lot of things that are imperfect about them. I was hearing Fallon a few days ago say there's no country with a perfect legal system. No. Every time it's because humans are diversifying. Before you know it, people are now saying we need to start thinking of making a law on artificial intelligence. Who thought of artificial intelligence before? So because of the diversification and evolution of humans, there's need to keep making everything better every day. So what is important is to put in place a mechanism for innovation, flexibility for ensuring that every new thing is taken into consideration. Okay. Uh, okay. Thank you very much, Nadia. I think I have come to the end of the presentation. I've been able to respond to some questions to the best of my knowledge. I believe anything that is not answered, people can do research on it and get to learn better, right? Some of you say, I'm not a student of political science. But if you're interested in public leadership, you need to know everything about public leadership. At least know a good about it. Cool? Thank you very much, everyone. I believe you enjoyed the sessions. You learned a lot. I wish you all the best. Don't forget that the module is shared into 4 different topics. And next week, there will be some amazing people telling you some amazing things, especially political party reforms, how to improve political parties to the 21st century to meet the 21st century challenge. And we're also going to be looking at the constitution. So next week will be more interesting, and then you see keep getting interesting as you proceed. Thank you. Nadia, over to you.
Okay, hello.